everyone, and welcome to the second day of a crazy Hanukkah project. And the reason I say it crazy in the title is because of Adam Sandler, 8 Crazy Nights. So today we're going to make a card. Couldn't be any quicker, couldn't be any simpler. Let me show you what I'm using. I'm using 2 dies from Ellison Education. They're all-star dies. One is the menorah. Well, how about if I turn my light on so you could see it? There you go. One is the menorah, and there's the code number for that. And it's a nice size. You see, I already use glitter. And the second one is the menorah candles. And actually, both of these can totally be utilized for other things. For example, the menorah can be trimmed down around the base and some of the legs, or some of the candle holders, to make a candelabra. You can also make this 3D. Cut it twice in heavier weight chipboard and then make one X-Acto knife slice this way and then slide each into each other. And if anyone's interested, I could show a video of that. And these can be paint brushes. So let me show you the little quick card I'm going to make. I have family members that always kind of compare cards. So I tried to make variations, and that's exactly what I'm going to do this time. And for the interest of time and space, since I have so little of each, well, I have so little space, I've already trimmed out the candelabra in this glitter kids fun foam, but it actually looks much more elegant than just children's foam. So if you haven't given foam a try, pick up a piece and play around with it, because I think if you like glitter, you definitely will like this, because it eliminates an entire step. So I've cut them out, and I always, as I mentioned before, I measure the space of the actual item that's going to be cut, and I trim down the paper, chipboard, or foam, whatever it might be, or fabric, down to a close size as possible. And then I save the remnants because I could trim off this entire strip. And I'm not trying to be a cheapskate, it's just there's no point to toss this out when it could be upcycled in another project. So I'm going to put that aside into my little use me later pile. And then I've cut a 8.5 by 11 size white American Crafts cardstock in half. So this is 5.5, and then folded, it's 5.5 by 4.25. So that's going to be the base, and I have 2 of them because I'm going to make 2 cards at the same time. And then I've cut a textured black cardstock. The only thing I haven't quite figured out is the orientation is going to be this way. It's going to open like this, because the menorah fits very nicely across this top layer. But because of all these rounded edges, I'm thinking I might want to round everything. So let me grab my trusty corner rounder and do that first. I'm going to do, I think, the 1/4 inch. It's a very subtle difference between leaving the edges versus rounding them, but there's just something very pleasant to me, especially when the image you have on the top layer has rounded edges. So, you know, continuing the continuities there when you have here, and I'll show you one with, one without. So I've rounded these corners, and this is a layer I'm going to apply here. And here, let me just dry fit it. And I usually do this just to kind of get the orientation. So there's one with rounded corners, and here's one without. You know, it's personal preference. I just happen to like the rounded corners, and I'll do one of each. So let's get started with this one. So first I'm going to do is I'm going to apply this layer. I'm going to use my ATG gun. Squeak. And I don't lift it up, I just twisted as you just saw. I'm gonna use, center this on the, as much as I can with the tripod in the way. And I don't know, many of you already probably know this, there's cure time for tape. Once you put it down, you still have a little bit of a wiggle room if you need to pull something up, but once it sits overnight, it's pretty much cured and will be permanent. So now I'm going to attach the menorah, but I want to make sure that my candles fit. I have enough space. So I want to make sure this is centered. Actually, I'm looking at my viewfinder for this, my camera. And I've cut 2 different colors, as you can see, because I'm going to have the lead candle, the one that all the other candles are lit with, in one color, and the other candle is in another. And then the other card, I'll do the reverse. So I think I like that. Alright, so I'm going to start adhering this, and I'm going to use Scotch quick dry adhesive. I have found that it works pretty nicely, and I'm going to leave the cap upside down. That way I can put it down for when I'm just going to right to the right of me. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to adhere the base first, and only the base, and I'll show you in a second why. So I'm going to center, and I have a grid pattern in front of me, so that I'm going to use that as a guide to help me line up. So I want this pretty low on the card to look like I have even. Okay, so I'm going to press down on this and give it a minute or so to set up, because this is quick dry. And actually I see a little bit oozing out. I'm just going to use my nail. And it dries clear, so it shouldn't be a problem. Okay, so since I've only attached the base, I didn't want to add glue. First of all, there's a lot of surface area to add the glue to, and then try to position it accurately so stuff would get squeezed out. I'm going to let this set up just a few more seconds, and then I'm going to do the reverse. I'm going to turn this upside down and flip this up and add the glue to the center first. You don't need a lot. And then let it naturally drop. And I'm going to line it up. So now that once the center is set up, I'll go in and do the same thing with each one of the arms. This will give me an opportunity to get them straight, or as straight as they can be, without having to worry to position them all at exactly the same time, especially since you have such short work time with quick dry adhesive. I'm just peeling off a little bit of the whiskers off the foam from the dye, from the actual dye. So see how that's pretty much, like, your eye can determine when something's off by a millimeter. So trust your eye, or your eyes. So now I'm going to go in and adhere each of the arms of the, and you know what, I don't even need to do all of it, I just need to do the tops. So again, I just added a little bit of glue. I'm going to let it drop naturally. Do the same thing on this side. Add a little bit of glue. You see how much easier this is than trying to center and maneuver everything all at the same time. So those two are done. And because this is foam, it's so pliable and forgiving. which is another reason why, if you haven't worked with foam, I think you would like it. And then and there's 3 more left, so bear with me while I finish these up, and then we can attach the candles. So make sure that I'm even. And I hear my dogs in the background because they just came in from outside, and they're taking their turn eating at the food bowl. They're really quite respectful of each other. First the alpha dog eats, then he steps aside and lets the Moses eat. And we have a biblically named dog. Okay, so now I just have these last 2 left because the center is already glued. Just want to make sure I'm not adding too much glue. And I thought I would show you all these steps because sometimes it's interesting to see how, like, what has worked for people. Like, this really has worked for me, I have found, and I have made probably hundreds of cards because I have a sideline business where I make invitations and do party planning. So at times, once I've created a template or a mock-up, I've made sometimes over 100 cards. So there you go. So that's all glued down now. I'm going to take this aside and let's do the green in the center. And you know what helps is, because these are so small, I'm going to have my tweezers on hand just in case I want to utilize. I can hear you, Mose. I know you're right behind me. I'm not gluing the flame part. I'm going to use that to hold. Oh, is that mushy? And again, the glue will dry clear. Do you wanna make an appearance in the video, Mushka? Here's Mushy. Hi, Mush. Okay, honey, but I can't hold you if Mommy's doing a video. Why don't you go eat? Go get some food, and I'll be right there. Okay. Sorry about that. Okay, so now I'm gonna do the blue ones. And again, this is far more difficult to do from behind a camera. So let me finish these up and I'll be right back and show you what the finished product looks like. There you are. Through the magic of time-lapse and video editing, both cards are completed. So here's, you could see side by side the difference between the rounded corner one and the one that I left the straight edges on. And I like the reverse look on each. So one will go to my mom and dad, and one will go to my sister and my brother-in-law and their family. And actually, if you get the self-adhesive foam, which is available, it just has a peel-off backing. I think I showed in yesterday's project. It's like this. You could totally cut everything and let the kids put these together. You know, you could just trim everything up, run everything through your cutting machine, and then just hand them the pieces to put together. You know, it'll be really cool to see kind of, you know, what they create. Make up a whole bunch of different color candles, you know, let them pick and choose. I personally love the kind of the monochromatic or the 2, maybe 3 color look, but some people love those multicolored lights. So, and since Hanukkah is the festival of lights, it's kind of apropos that they're all shiny and shimmery. So there you go, super quick and very easily reproduced in, you know, multiple. So you could set up an entire assembly line if you have 10, 15, 20, however many you need to send. You can always, you know, get everything pre-cut, and then all you have to do is assemble them. And you could totally do it while watching TV or listening to music. I do have to say I learned something while putting the little candles on. Initially I was putting the glue on the foam of the candle. After putting on the starter base one, I started putting the glue on the card and then the foam candle on, attaching the foam candle to the card. I found that if I dropped the candle, which it is pretty small and I have really large hands, even if you're using tweezers, you could sometimes drop stuff. You didn't get glue everywhere because the glue was already on the cardboard or on the cardstock that was on the card. So that's just a quick little tip. So there you go. This is day 2. If you're interested in seeing the whole series, I'll include a link right here to a playlist for the 8 crazy nights of projects for Hanukkah. And stay tuned for day 3. Thanks so much for watching.